Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens and Nick DiStefano.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, this guy, man. We got so many good things to talk about today, Nick. As always, I want to check in with you and see what you're up to, but we got to tease the audience here a little bit today on why we're doing this. For you out there, you might be thinking, I want to get the most out of the people around me, and you want to give the most to the people around you, right? So this is a great goal of leadership. You're not ever doing it just for yourself. You're doing it to lift up others around you, and so. But we also want people to kind of work with us on what our uniform goals are. So today's topic is going to be leading through influence versus authority. So if you're a manager out there today, this is what we're doing for you. We want you to remember it's very easy sometimes to get into that barking mode and, hey, I'm the manager. Yes. I'm in charge, right? I got the authority. But that very rarely works. So today we're going to talk all about how to lead through influence, not just through authority. But before we get into that, I got to talk about some stuff with you, man.
I don't know what is there something strange?
Yeah, it's something super strange over here. Now,
something different.
Now, let me tell you guys, for those who are watching on video, this is all fine and well, and you know what's up. For those who are listening on the radio, I want to describe this to you.
Yeah.
We have a gentleman here, Mr. Nick DiStefano, who is usually, probably one of the more put together guys. He's got his nicely coiffed beard and all that good stuff.
Described as coiffed.
Or what have you. I don't even know if I know the definition of coiffed, but either way. But my man here, he's got his shirt on backwards, man. Yeah. What's this all about? Let's sprinkle some knowledge.
So when you look at it from the front, you may not know it's on backwards because maybe you might think it's a
trendy,
almost like a little turtleneck or like a dickie, throwing it back to the heyday. And but if you were to look at it, so on video, everyone that saw it, I did a little spin around. So it is on backwards. It's a polo shirt, right? You can tell when you look at it from the back.
Yes, indeed.
It's very obvious that I have my shirt on backwards compared to Rob. I make the choice consciously to wear my shirt backwards every day in the month of April, and I do it intentionally to raise awareness and acceptance for autism. So I'm on the board for Champion Autism Network, and then even more personally, my son, who's 10 years old, is on the autism spectrum, and I'm all about, in the work that I do, whether it's at McLeod or in my business, coaching individuals, trying to just create a kinder world and trying to create more leaders who, when they see someone that's different, maybe they stop and think, instead of why is that person doing that, and think with judgment, maybe that they act a little more curiously. And so it leads to some really cool conversations. It leads to some really uncomfortable conversations when I see someone in the grocery store and they tap on my shoulder and say, you got your shirts backwards. And I like to have fun with it. I usually tell them that
I did not.
I usually joke about it, and then I'll proceed to tell them, 1 in 31 people wear their shirt backwards. Did you know that, Rob?
I had no idea of the stat. I would be quite curious.
I'm completely making that up.
Yeah.
But 1 in 31 kids is diagnosed with autism today.
And that's wild.
It is less of an epidemic than people think, and I want us to think about how do we, create a space where people can be different, and it's okay. And like my shirt, you can tell when it's backwards. You can't tell if someone has autism. You don't look at them and go, oh, they look autistic. That's not a thing. It's invisible. It's in the way their brain works. And so I love doing it. It's just nice that we happen to be recording on a day when I'm wearing it. And
I'll be real with you. We've had some discussions off the air on this. Some of our best discussions are really off the air, to be honest.
Y'all should come join us.
Yeah. Honestly, I've thought about doing like a best of or outtakes, but we had a real conversation on this one time, and just like the misunderstandings people have on it in general, because like even myself, I was trying to put it like, hey, everybody could be something, and you're like, no, and I think we kind of landed on, or it might have been my analogy, but it was like it's trying to compare, like when you look at the way the brain processes, trying to compare like a pickup truck to a car. They're different ways of processing, and you can't be a little bit of a truck if you're a car. You can't be a little bit of a truck. You're either a truck or you're not.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciated that, and I learned a lot when I talk to people who know more about a subject than I do.
No, and I love sharing about it. So I love the conversations. And if anyone listening wants to learn more about autism, or maybe you have someone in your family you're connected to, and you go, this is overwhelming. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. Like, just reach out. I'm happy to talk to anybody that has questions about it, because it's different.
It's a real thing.
Sure, and it's not always easy being different. Whether you're the parent of a kid that's autistic or you're autistic yourself, it's not easy. But you're right. There is definitely some weight to it, but also too, like, we're all of our brains operate different, whether we're autistic or not. My brain works differently than yours, versus there's a lot of people that tell me I could never do what someone like you or Rob does and stand in front of people. And that's naturally just something that in the way our brains operate, we think differently than someone, and there's just neurodiversity among all of us, but it's been a lot of fun to do, and I'm happy to wear my shirt backwards despite the fact that it can be a little uncomfortable.
Definitely, especially when it's warm outside. No air for you, buddy.
The other night I wore a blazer and I had a button-down shirt on backwards, and I was at an awards ceremony, and I met someone, and they said, "Oh, I just thought you were like the vicar and we're going to give like the blessing."
Oh, right.
I was like, I guess I kind of look like I have like a collar backwards. Anyway, we won't do that today.
No, that's cool. Well, I will say, 1 in 31. That's a lot, and the reason why I think it's beautiful that you're doing. We had Eden, who I know you know Eden. He was on the show talking about autism a while back, and I think it's powerful to know, whether we're talking about autism or whatever it is in your life. If you're listening to the show right now, you're going through something. Sometimes you feel very alone. Sometimes you feel like like nobody understands. It's just beautiful to know there are people who are like you and that may understand, and that we don't have to feel like that.
As you say that too, it makes me think about like even the topic today, right? Leading through influence versus leading with authority, and. I don't have any authority over someone in the grocery store, but my hope is that I can influence them to learn something, and that I can think about through my actions, how do I encourage someone to be better? How do I influence them? So I'm curious, like, have you ever had anyone in your life, whether it's work or business, that didn't have any authority over you? They weren't the boss, but they still impacted you or led you? Can you think of a time when maybe someone was, or maybe even you recognize for yourself that you did it? That's something I think sometimes we think about is, I didn't have any control over this person or authority, but yet I still was able to kind of positively impact them and influence them, right? Influence is kind of like raising people up.
Well, it's interesting because the influence is such a definition. So yes, I generally have a general answer. And what's funny is, like, as with every time I'm doing an interview and I'm being asked a question, 100 answers flood through in my mind, and I'm trying to right. It's like sometimes people tell me I don't really have an answer. I'm like, I have 100 answers. I'm trying to get the most relevant one. But I will tell you that the thing about the influence, and I'm going to answer this question, is that influence doesn't even have to be through direct contact. So that's the beautiful thing about it. Somebody doesn't have to come and tell you, "Hey, go do this." You might just do it because you saw it being done. There's the influence in that you see something successful happening. And the best way I would put it is, I remember when I was going to college, and I would watch the people on the track team. And, I always had this fascination with sprinting, and you watch these sprinters who are the best at what they do, and I love it in the Olympics, but, I would watch them and the way they were working and their work ethic, and I would just see that, and I go, you know what? I mean, I'm not even a sprinter. I never joined the track team, but I was like, but I really want to do that. And so my influence from somebody who didn't even know me, I'm like, I'm running on a track. I'm running 100 times. I'm breathing like they are. I'm drinking the things they're drinking because I wanted to be great at like they were. And I think that's where I've seen it. And it's not like somebody came over to me. If they came over to me and said, "You better start running on that track," I wouldn't have done it.
No, I'm good.
You know what I mean? And there's the authority versus influence. So
absolutely. No, I love that. And it's cool because you're right. It doesn't have to be direct contact, but I think if anyone listening to this, I think they should everyone listening should ask themselves this question of like, what am I doing today to influence others, right? Like whether you are responsible for people or not, because, right, I like to think of influence, and there's a John Maxwell quote that says, like, I think it's something along the lines of like a rising tide lifts all boats. He talks about that in one of his books, and I think that it's how can you be the rising tide, right? I can't necessarily control where this boat goes or what it does, but like, can I still lift people up? Can I still and I think we all have the ability to do that regardless of what authority you have over someone or control or management. I mean, and then when you have that management, that's when it's really cool, is when you can because imagine if you have the ability to manage, and that's what I think about some of my best like leaders in my life, the people who they technically were managing me, but yet they were someone that, by the way they acted, the things they did, the way they treated people, influenced me to be better as well.
Okay.
I wasn't better just because they told me this is the standard. Yeah, there were standards, and we, strive to, strive, is that a word?
Yeah, strive, definitely a word.
We're trying to, it didn't sound right in the moment, but we strive to achieve the goals, and we had tasks that we had to do and we were held accountable for things. Like, that's management through authority. That happened. But yet I believed in what we were doing because they believed in it and they took the action and they participated. And I thought, oh man, I'm influenced by, this person's actions as well, which I think we can all do.
So the question in my mind is, where do you see now? By the way, again, sometimes I feel like if you're listening to the show the first time, Nick isn't just like a dude I bring on the show. I mean, you do leadership training, you do team training, coaching, whatnot, and so you see a lot more of this than a lot of the people that I know in my life. So I love to hear this from you. There is do you ever see this issue where because of someone's authority, they have less ability to do, not ability to do, but it's like the authority is stymieing their ability to lead through influence? Because, let me explain why I'm saying this, and then I think you'll see where I'm going. It's like, if I see somebody who's doing something, I'm like, wow, that's how you should do it. There's a good influence to that, or just somebody who's been a role model or a standard bearer. Then there's a certain amount of pizzazz you have to that, and then you can take that same person, you're working under them, and they're like, well, you have to do it because I'm your boss. How do you size that up if you're a manager out there? What have you seen in this field?
Yeah. So I love the question, because the reality is, and we have two ways of doing it. You can manage people, but even if you're a manager, you shouldn't just be managing, you should be leading. Mm-hmm. And if you're not leading, then you're not influencing. Yeah. And so when people struggle with it, what I often see happens is we see people get into roles where they might have been great at influencing others as that individual contributor. You have a superstar individual on your team, and we promote them into a leadership role or a manager role, and they were influencing everyone by the way that they acted. Mm-hmm. And now they have this authority, and they feel like, I have to stick to this authority. I have to act a certain way because I'm the manager now. When the reality is, like, they probably had more impact and created more change before they were on others, before they actually had the authority. And sometimes we let the authority become like the primary reason or the primary way that we interact with others. And you can have both, but you should be primarily managing the things and leading the people. And that means if you have authority, you can still have people that trust you, and you want to have people that trust you. You need to, but to do that, you have to connect with people. You can't just tell people what to do and not be transparent and give them the reason why we're doing it. And all the things we've talked about in many of the different shows. You've got to be able to actively listen. You've got to have emotional intelligence. You got to think about what is it that I'm doing to connect with this person, because the authority will absolutely stymie it. I don't want to show up to work if you just tell me what to do and don't think about me as a person, or and especially if you're promoted to it.
Yeah, and this is where I'm going with that. I feel like that what happens is naturally you hit it. I mean, you really hit it, and I really believe on this. I hope any ultimate decision makers at the companies are listening to what we're saying right now, because I believe this is a mistake that a lot of managers do. A lot of decision makers. I'm saying managers, but I'm talking about like the person who's ultimately deciding who's my next manager going to be. Let me explain where I'm going with this. It's like, okay, we need to hire somebody to be our next division manager, whatever that is. We have these employee candidates down here. And what happens is I believe that sometimes you get these people in this situation where they're like, okay, it's me against you. I've got to win that job. And so what you've done, you created like this battle of I'm going to be better than you. And whereas I've always kind of felt like I really want the better influencer there. I'm not looking for the person who's showing authoritarian traits right off the bat.
Absolutely.
I want the one who's going to say, hey, look, we're both buying for this. Let me just tell you something. Next time you're doing this is going to probably help you. And that's the person that should be your manager, in my opinion. And because that they are going to work through influence. One is building towards authority as their means of making people do things. The other one is working towards influence.
100%. Yeah. And it's really interesting you say it too, because I think that what this, like our topic today, for me, this topic is what defines leadership for me. And so I know you have an acronym for it, right? I have my own framework related to leadership, but at the end of the day, for me, leadership is about leaving people better than you found them. Yeah. And you can be a manager and do that. You can be my friend and do that. You can be my kid and do that. I don't have to have any authority over someone to be a good leader. I
100%.
might have a greater opportunity to make an impact on a person and on the company if I automatically have maybe a little bit of respect because I am the manager and have that authority. But if I take advantage of that, and that's what I think happens, people get in that position, they take advantage of the authority and they forget that my job is also to take care of the people and leave them better than I found them. Because you don't have to have you tell me if you agree, right? You don't have to have a title to be a leader, right?
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like we both agree on that.
I believe in general that people have conflated manager with leader, and that's a big problem.
Issue. Yeah,
it's a big
100%.
problem. People say, "Well, our leader told us to do that." It's almost a sarcastic thing when you say that.
Like that's authority at that point. There's
right?
No influence.
Yeah, 100%. And so what I have seen, and I think, and if you have any specific references, you can use them. And we don't want to ever call out names, but I think that this is the age-old problem. You bring in somebody and you say, you're going to be my manager of people now. And that person comes in and they're like, okay, I'm in charge now. Time for me to be in charge. And I believe that there's a mindset issue there. And what happens is sometimes, and a lot of times, that doesn't work because naturally the people revolt. And they go, well, why is this person my manager?
Yeah.
And if you're ever asking why somebody's your manager, it means either you have a problem yourself, which by the way, let's be real, that's a lot of the problem. But you also have to ask, well, if it's not readily apparent to everybody, then that's a problem too. Why is this person why
do we put them here?
Here's where it comes from. How are they influencing? What are they doing to set the standards? And I believe that that's where we're going to spend a lot of this show talking about. I think we're going to talk about what are the standards of how to be an influencer rather than just a authoritarian.
I think that's a great place to start. Truly, is what are the things that anyone listening, whether you're a manager, leader, whoever you are, that you can do to influence others. And I'll just want to say to influence others positively, because if we're talking about leading through influence,
I like that.
Because there are a lot of folks that are individual contributors and employees of our companies and places that we work that they influence others for the not so good. But I think about like the times when my brothers and I were like, hey, you should jump off that tree. And it's like, I'm the older brother. And I'm like, I know this is a really dumb idea, but he still goes off the tree. And then later in the night, shout out Mark, sorry, the time we pushed you off the tree, bruises his kidney and is like peeing blood. Like, hey, like that was bad influence, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I say so the first thing I would say to anybody thinking about how do I lead with influence versus authority, the first thing I would say that you need to do is you need to be empathetic. You need to think about what are other people feeling. You need to recognize that empathy requires a level of self-awareness and knowing your own feelings, but also being able to recognize how other people feel. Because if I recognize how you're feeling, I'm going to be able to connect with you. I'm going to be able to encourage you when you're having that tough day. And at the same time, if I have that authority too, and I empathize with you, then when I ask you to do something, and I know you're going to struggle with it, you're going to be more willing to go through that crappy thing. Right? My favorite definition of leadership comes from two researchers, Kouzes and Posner, and they say leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for a shared aspiration. If I don't empathize with you, there is no way you're going to want to struggle.
That's good.
I don't want to come to work and be like, this is going to suck. Like if I empathize with you and I say, hey, I know this is going to be really hard, and I know you're really struggling with it, but like let's go through this together.
I don't even think that's true anyway. I really don't. I don't think if people thought things suck and therefore I don't want to do them, I don't think you'd have people doing these races where they're running super marathons and where and
where
where
a lot of people empathize with me in that. Well, they also thought I was stupid.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like how often do we do things where like, man, this is gonna be a grind, but let's do it together. We're gonna have fun, and it's like I think that's a thing.
Yeah.
But it comes with a common vision. So here's where I'm gonna go with that. You said the thing about the empathy. I'm gonna go to the common vision. If I want to be an influencer, I have to rather than just authority. They have to share. We have to share a common vision, a common goal. And I think that what I've seen too often is that people will ultimately be like, I'm in charge, it's my way or the highway.
Yes.
Therefore, it's my goal, not your goal. And I'll piggyback that with this. There is a thing that happens, and you gave a definition of leadership, and I really appreciate that because I have some traits of leadership I'll tell. And the best leaders I know are the ones who they put out fires. They don't grow fires.
Yes.
See, the opposite of leadership is the one who like, oh, that's going whatever, throw some gas on the fire.
Yeah.
Great leaders put out the fires.
Yes.
How are they able to put out the fires? Well, a lot of times it comes through common vision.
Yes.
It comes down to, hey, look, when this person did this thing to you, Becky, or whoever I'm talking to, do you think that this is what they were trying to do? Do you think this could have been the angle? Now, when we get to a point where we can see a common vision, all of a sudden we're taking the influence route. We're taking to why are we here today? Hey, would you like to get a promotion this year? Maybe that's how we get there. But I think that we have to look at that instead of being like, do as you're told, sir, which is what too often we do, So that would be my take on it.
No, I love it. And, as you're talking, there's one word that I like keep thinking about in my mind as you were saying all that, Robin. It's to do that, to have a common goal and a common vision, right? I need to trust you.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I think if you want to influence others have to trust you. And I would say the people that are the best influencers are the ones who extend trust first. And I love the age-old adage of trust is what? Trust is it earned or is it given?
Oh, I mean, it's earned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the best influencers are the ones who give it. Even if it's not always going to be earned, and we give it first. That is so difficult to do, but I think about if you are my manager and you have authority over me, but you trust me, right? Even if it's day one on the job and I haven't fully earned it, you've hired me for a reason and you trust me and you allow me to try something. You say, I'm with you. I'm not going to just tell you how to do this, but listen, I trust you to work on this thing. It might not be the biggest project in the book, but how do I give the handout to you and say, I'm going to hope that you're going to trust me back, but I'm going to show you what
are you talking from manager to employee you're giving the trust, or you're saying from the employee to the manager?
I think it should go both ways, but far too often we think that it has to be earned first, that I don't need to give you trust until you've showed me that you deserve my trust, when I would be much more influenced if I've done nothing other than I've gone through this interview process with you and now I work for you and you're saying, hey, you went through this process with us, that's enough. I trust you to do this project and I'm going to help you along the way with it. So I'm not going to just tell you to do it.
I can get behind that.
Not easy. That is so difficult to do.
I'll say this, I think that's true, Nick, but I do think there's a part of it though that, yes, you have to give a little trust, but you also, the person has to earn the trust too. I'm gonna go off of this. Let me tell you. Here's where I'm going. Okay, so let me give you an example. You're a football team, and the coach comes in on day one. He's got basketball shorts on, he's holding a basketball, and he goes, "Boys, I want you to go out there and we're going to score a bunch of goals today." And you go, wait a minute, am I going to give that guy trust? There does come a little bit of an earning process, but I think, and this is where I'm going to go, because I agree with you on that you have to give it, but there's and this is exactly where I'm going to segue into my point. I think the next thing is you have to be the standard of what you are asking people to do. You can't come in and not look the part of what you're asking people to be. And so here's where I'm gonna get into the earning part. If I come in, let's say that we brought in that same coach and we said, "This is your new coach, guys." It's like, well, we got to trust the coach, and that's good. That's what I want from great.
I'm gonna trust him because he's the coach, the authority, no other reason.
Right. Exactly.
That's why I trust him. Okay,
so now we're about to earn some of that trust, and what it's going to be is, hey guys. I've watched some of the things that are happening before I got here. I've been doing a little bit of homework, and here's some things I think can make us all better. And here's how I want to tap into things that we're going to be doing here. You're being the standard. You're showing that you're working a little harder. You're doing all the things you're asking people to do. Now we're talking about leadership, and we're talking about authority versus influence. Well, influence to me is like, hey, I saw Coach out here. He was here at 6 a.m., working out in the gym, getting ready for this. And that's kind of inspiring to me. Now, he's not doing it because he's saying, do as I do as I say, don't do as I do. He's actually doing what he's saying to do as well. So I think there's a part of that maybe you got to give a little at first, but then that it has to continue to be earned in a sense, because if I start saying I'm going to do one thing and doing another, or asking you to do something, but I'm not willing to do it, 100%. I think I start losing it. Yeah, so be the standard.
And I love that, because what I even hear in you saying that is like, and there is a level of trust being earned, but it's earned too because I gave it to you first, right?
Yeah,
so like if I'm going to expect you to trust me,
right,
and I'm going to be this standard, I'm going to trust you to do the same thing, even if you haven't done it yet, right? So as the person who has the authority, if the coach knows that they're putting in the work and they are leading through influence, then they need to also then, because they've set that standard, give the trust to the people as well, and not just expect it to come to me because I know I'm living up to this standard. Because if you don't give them the opportunity to live up to this standard until they've done the things, then why do I want to do it? I'm only doing it because you're telling me to go and do this versus...
And that's never been a good reason.
Exactly.
In the history of time.
And so I think when we talk about trust, like, you have to operate in a way, if you're going to influence others, where people can see that you're someone that they can trust. But then even if you can't see that there's someone to trust, you should give them an opportunity to prove it to you. So show it to me. Like, I'm not gonna. If you break my trust, I'm not gonna like continue to let you do what you did. But at the same time, if I want to influence you, I want you to feel trusted.
So I'm going to kind of summarize this in 4 things. We're going to summarize this whole show real quick, and we're going to kind of probably call our day for this particular show, because I think we've hit a lot of things on how to be influencing with your leadership rather than authoritarian with your leadership. To play off of what you said, obviously, you have to listen and have empathy. 2 big things. You know, if you're going to be influential, you can't come in here and not even be willing to understand other viewpoints. 100%. We do have to give trust first, and I think that's to the leader, to the people who they may be leading. You have to give them trust. You can't assume the worst of them. You have to.
And that's the key piece of it. Is just can't assume the worst of people.
Yep, absolutely. Common vision. Establish that. You know, look, if I say, what's our vision here? What do we want to be doing together? All right, if we want to do that, we got to work as a team to get there. I think that common vision, and then be the standard. Like, don't ever try to get into a leadership position. I'll never forget. I had an intern one time at an old company, and they said, I became a manager because I want to be in charge. And I thought, well, that's not a reason to be a manager, right? Yeah, so remember, be the standard. Yes. Don't look to be the authority. But hey, I think that's a great place for us to wrap it, Nick.
I agree. I hope that everyone listening feels influenced and inspired to go out there and be a better leader.
And I've got a couple of just quick sign-off notes. You doing Jockeys and Juleps this year?
I am. I'll be there.
Okay, you'll be there. That is on. We have that on. What date is that?
May.
I want to kind of throw a plug.
It's the day of the Derby, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every day the Kentucky Derby.
Everybody.
I have it on a calendar, but I'm going to have to sit here like a bumbling fool and find it.
I want to say, no, I really love to have people come out. I think it's on May 2nd.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so come out to Jockeys and Juleps. This is a part of the McLeod Jockeys and Juleps that we're talking about, put on by the amazing team over at McLeod Health. And they do so many amazing things for the community, raising money for cancer awareness and everything on down through helping people at the organization. So we do want to welcome everybody. Come on down to Jockeys and Juleps, May 2nd. We'll get some more information.
Put information in the show notes.
Yep, we'll put it in the show notes. And I believe that I'm also going to have Christina Jackson come on and talk a little bit about that.
Even better.
Good friend of the show. We'd love to have her. So anyway, we thank you all. Go out and be your best leader you can be. Always lead through influence, not authority. And I will say thank you to our show sponsors, Carolina Bays Homes. And we will see you all next time on the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens and
Nick DiStefano.
See you next time.